Good morning, and thanks everybody for coming out today for an incredibly important day for us to remember those that were lost on September 11th. But what I wanted to start with today, I'll close talking about the victims. What I wanted to talk first was the other portions of this that we should never forget. So as intelligence and cyber professionals, the other lessons that we have from September 11th. And what I encourage everybody to do is, in the roles that you play, the critically important role that you play every day in our nation's defense, read the 9/11 report. Go back and look at the conditions that were set in advance of September 11th. And look at what led up to that day. And the role that intelligence played, both before the events and then the role after the events, to take action. But one of those areas that I wanted to spend a little bit of time is talking about how you impacted every day with some of those changes. One of the things that happened immediately after September 11th was something called the Patriot Act. And many of you may have heard of the Patriot Act, but in most cases you have heard about it through the lens of what data was collected in relation to U.S. citizens. That isn't the important part of the Patriot Act. The important part of the Patriot Act was authorizing intelligence agencies to share information, to allow intelligence professionals to be successful in connecting dots. If you read the 9/11 report, one of the things that was a severe limiter for our intelligence community and all the intelligence professionals that were still going after extremists at that time was a limiter in the ability to share information. The FBI was not authorized to pass information to the intelligence community. The intelligence community was not authorized to pass information to the FBI unless in very structured ways. That is why today, many of you are working on things like enabling eyesight, the intelligence community, IT environment, the ability to share, the ability to network, the ability to work collaboratively on problems. You all are doing that today, and a part of that is from our lessons learned from September 11th. Remember what occurred, remember those lessons, and remember what our purpose is. Our purpose is to discover the unknown so that our warfighters should never have to guess. We do that by the hard work that you do in creating the right networks, allowing sharing, and then being able to produce the right intelligence so that everybody in the battlefield has the best understanding of what's occurring. What occurred right after September 11th is what has always happened in this country, which is we stand up for freedom wherever that needs to occur. So when you look back to what our response as a nation after September 11th and the immediate initiation of Operation Enduring Freedom, our nation responded, and we immediately began to take action. And if you look at the conditions that were set in Afghanistan, they're very similar to what we see today in portions of Iraq and Syria. A portion of country that was being controlled by an element that was implementing a set of martial law that's inconsistent with self-determination and freedom. Our nation, with a coalition, responded quickly to that. And as those airstrikes began on October 7th of 2001 to target the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, we put airmen at risk immediately. And our airmen responded in the same way that we do every day, which is to take action and to be surgical and to go after the enemy wherever they reside. The first casualties of that war we also should not forget. Tech Sergeant Chapman and Senior Airman Cunningham on March 4th, 2002 were the first airmen that died in Afghanistan. They did so to defend our nation and to defend freedom across the globe. Those airmen were there to enable the success of the ground force and did it with an absolute passion that at that time, in the context of what you do today, an RQ-1 Predator was overtop that battlefield. At that time, we had 5 Predators. In the entire United States Air Force inventory, we had 5 Predators. Think about the ISR enterprise that exists today and the contribution that you make every day with the thousands of intelligence reports you generate across the battle space, and the continued sustained fight against extremism in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen. You make a contribution every day to ensure that we do not have another September 11th. That contribution and the role that was played, Sergeant Chapman and Senior Airman Cunningham were heroes. But I'll tell you, to me, there's another set of heroes. And it's every one of you that signed up to serve our nation after September 11th. You all signed up to serve your nation while we're in sustained conflict. So every airman, soldier, sailor, and Marine that has signed up after September 11th, we're signing up to be a part of a nation at war and to defend our nation and defend our coalition. So I want to say thank you to every one of you. Not only is today about remembering, but it's about sustaining this fight. And if you think to September 11th, what occurred and how horrific day that was, there have not been another attack on our nation's soil. Since September 11th, it's been an away game, and we've kept the pressure on the enemy. Thank you for all what you do every day to defend our nation at a time of war. So what I'd like to close with is some thoughts about September 11th. And when you think about the numbers that were killed, 2,977 died on September 11th. Of those, 2,753 were in the World Trade Center. In those numbers, 343 firefighters, 23 policemen, 37 Port Authority. At the Pentagon, 184 died. 70 of those were government civilians and contractors, 55 were military. In Shanksville, Pennsylvania, 40 passengers and crew died on September 11th. What makes that unique is that of those 2,977 that were killed, they were from 90 different countries. When you think about a nation that is as accepting as we are, part of that is driven by the fact that we have an open border and we want to be able to be a nation of immigrants and to be able to accept everybody. To be able to be the best that we can be by being an open nation and being able to accept freedom and support freedom wherever it exists. Since September 11th, 1,400 rescuers that were a part of the response to September 11th have died. 1,400 additional. Selfless and continued support for the way we think as a nation, which is if there's a problem, we're going to try and solve it. You do that every day. It's important that we remember what happened, and it's also important to reflect on how we got there and how you every day are making our nation better by the work that you do to produce the right intelligence, whether that's enabling the systems that do it, enable the sharing that's required, and the partnerships across the intelligence community to ensure that every warfighter's got the data they need to be successful. So we remember today, we reflect, and then I also want to say thank you for everything you do every day to support our nation. Thank you very much.